going on, everybody? So today's video, I don't really know what to title it, but I may have thought of a title by the time you guys see this video. Now, this is the darker side of the black community. This is something that people don't discuss down here in the South, and those from the Midwest have seen this. Those from the Midwest who moved down south seen this. Those from the East Coast who moved down south have seen this. And pretty much, you know, what goes in the hood stays in the hood. What's talked about don't be talked about. And kind of like, you know, well, cousins makes dozens. Closer to the cousin, easier it goes in. Or keeping it in the family. Now, I come from a town that's definitely, I think, one of the top 3 gayest. In the U.S., it's recorded one of the top 3 gayest communities. And this conversation isn't about that, but it goes into that. So, you have Columbia, you have Atlanta, Baton Rouge, and then Nashville. So you got around the top 4, top 5 communities like that. And I want to share some stories so you guys can understand, like, you know, I literally live in a weird, fucked up town. Now, I'm not related to no one down here, you know, because I'm originally from up north, but I've been down in the South since I was like 3-4 years old. You know, way early fucking 90s when we moved here. So, you know, I had a friend, and his uncle's boyfriend, right, had him outside late at night. And, you know, my friend, you know, he went through a lot of shit like I have. He just never knew, you know, how to really cope with things. So, his uncle's boyfriend pretty much gave him head right out in the front porch. From there, my friend would grow up to be bisexual. So he would be into guys and girls. But the reason why none of his relationships lasted with girls is because he really wanted a guy. So that's how I know about that. Around the time I was in middle school, and this would be late middle school years, around 8th grade. Now, these girls, you know, were brought up into a sense of talking about they're gay. Talking about some shit that always went on in the girls' restroom and locker room. Even though some of them had boyfriends, but they didn't want to be always with the boyfriend. Because if you're not related into the family, I do not want to really fully be with you. I want to be somebody who's related to me. And a good majority of that being related, it would be by blood or by marriage. It would be 2nd to 4th cousins. Sometimes you had 1st cousins. Going in from that, you know, I remember my high school years, you know, my 12th grade year, you had the guys. Let me backtrack for a minute. I remember early freshman year, you had these 2 twin brothers that were on the football team. And I think I was just leaving out of Walmart, going into Walmart. But they had the high school team football jerseys on, right? And they were they strolling a baby carriage, holding hands with each other. Next thing I see, and this happened just like in a matter of seconds. Like, what seems like forever happens so fucking quick in life. And they ended up locking lips. Literally. Then, we get into what I seen in high school, with the guys, good majority of the football team are underneath the covers per se. One of them was a really nasty motherfucker. And I mean that in a bad way. He was messing around with, he wasn't messing around, but he was seeing two girls just to play him, right? Now, this fucker was on steroids too. Going in on that, he really wanted to mess with somebody on his football team, so he had a boyfriend. And, they don't even know about it, and they still fuck with each other till this day. Even though he's married, supposedly, to a white chick. He took his boyfriend, and the hallways get crowded in school, and there's so much of a crowd that you ain't gonna really notice anything unless you just so happen to stumble, upon it. He pushed him up against the locker, kissed him, and shoved his hand down his pants for a minute. They started carrying around, a lot of the boys, especially on the football team, started carrying around a lot of these small elementary kid school, Sesame Street, kiddie cartoon backpacks. And some who really tried to think, they weren't undercover, you're showing it. Some people ain't gonna catch it right away. But, they would be whatever. They would be stiff, if you will, around their girlfriends or other females. But when it came to their homies, they would sag and show their ass for them. So, that should tell you something right there. Going in from that, shit got a lot worse. And I mean a lot worse. So, I remember, about 3 years at the most, when the gay rights passed, everybody in this town literally came out. So you saw a lot of dudes holding hands with dudes, a lot of girls with girls, and two dudes with a girl. And a lot of these were the younger kids. Now we're finna get into why it's so much out of control. You have, and I talked about this, I do believe that's on this channel, selling sexuality to kids in hip-hop. You getting them confused because they don't know if they're gay or not. They don't know if they're bisexual or not. They're going by off what they hear from people like Young Thug, and especially Drake. Then you see them, when you have Rick Ross and Diddy kissing, the same thing with Lil Wayne and Birdman. You selling gay sexuality to the younger audience, brainwash them. If you guys want to know more about that in depth, I recommend checking out Selling Sexuality to Kids in Hip Hop. Well, from there, this is where we're about to really get into the explaining and explanation part. So, here in this town, or maybe even some of you guys that see this video may have seen this. You ever, say if you worked in the store, or you're just out in public, and you happen to see somebody who you thought you already seen. And it's like, didn't I just see this person? Or it don't matter if it's a child, a teenager, or an adult. And sometimes when you're overhearing conversations like y'all was saying about, maybe a certain people having a child with somebody, or certain people seeing each other, and then you think to yourself, well, ain't they related by a certain blood or by marriage by somebody on somebody's side of the family? Well, it's because of this. If you are a guy dating a girl in this town, it ain't gonna last long. Like, you are an outsider. They will see you, but they won't want to be with you. They'll have a kid with you, but they don't want to have that kid around with you. Because a good majority of it, they're not into guys in this town. So they want to be with the chick who's related to them by blood or by marriage. Right? Same thing with the guys. They want, if you're an outsider chick in this going into this town, that guy may have a kid with you, but he ain't gonna want to be around with you with the kid. He ain't gonna really want to be with you, because a good majority of it, he's fucking one of his homies. And in those meme posts that a lot of females post about guys, like, this is what y'all mean by Netflix and chill, or what you mean, like, oh, you're chilling with your homies and they're showing, X-rated pictures with the memes. A good majority of that is actually true about guys, because they are fucking their homies, and the good majority of it, they are pretty much fucking one of their cousins. I'm keeping it very real. So, when it comes to a triangle relationship, that child is going to be related to an outsider, but the mother's going to grow up to raise that child to say, hey, you need to get with one of your cousins. And the good majority of this town, people do marry their kin. I kid you not. They do. They marry their kin. So, a lot of that shit really does go on in the community. Now, I ain't gonna let everything out, but I'm letting a good majority of it be known. So, you got things and people like that where I stay from. And two people I know who are, I believe, related to each other by blood from somebody's part of the family, and then one of them by marriage. They had I think they had like a child together, and then, they ended up getting married not long ago. So, you got things like that in this town as well. And so that should already tell you, people in this town, they're family fuckers. So, you might be an outsider, but truth is, I ain't gonna want to be with you. I'm gonna want to be with somebody that's in the family. Same thing that goes down in Atlanta. They do the same way. Same thing down in Baton Rouge. Same thing up in, Nashville. Now, I know some of it goes on up in the Midwest from what I heard about. But people that come from the Midwest and East Coast see this, and they always ask themselves, and I've been known to have this conversation with them. It's like, why do some people so look alike, and they having kids? It sounds like they're having kids within their family with one another. But that's because they are. It's like they're getting married to each other. So, you got things like that in this town. So, that's about really it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys may have learned at least something. And, yeah. And before I go, I just want to say this. It's probably the last video here for a while on this channel. Because I did want to open up about and talk about things that I did want to talk about and educate you guys, because this channel is about that. This channel is about knowledge, growing beyond your expectations, being awoke spiritually and mentally, and me wanting to use my voice for something positive, even if it's talking about things like this, just shedding light. So yeah, man, I'm gonna let this channel now, grow with the subscribers and views. I'm gonna keep advertising and promoting the channel while I'm gone from it. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'm out.